Now we are reflecting on the really sad news that the TV presenter and comedian Paul O'Grady has died at the age of 67.
Yes, of course, he rose to fame in the 1990s with his iconic drag queen persona, Lily Savage.
There was a wig, there was a dress, and there's a touch of makeup. That's it.
I'd like to apologise to the viewers in Wigan. It must be awful for you.
People say to me now, isn't it strange that Paul O'Grady's your dad and Lily Savage? I'm like, I don't know any difference, so...
Lily made me laugh in a way that I can't think of anything else that made me laugh.
He always dragged you down to his level. Gutter.
We saw, I think, in his outrage what we should have been feeling about ourselves, considering how badly we were treated. When the laws of the land were very anti-gay, he wasn't an actor. He was Lily.
Ladies and gentlemen, the tart with the heart, Lily Savage!
Barbara! Hey, sweetheart. Take what you like. Help yourself. Oh, come here, gorgeous soul. No tongues, no tongues. How are you?
What's this rumour that there is about Mr. O'Grady killing you off?
Don't talk to me about that four-eyed fruit. I've had enough of it. Yeah. I'm a Richard and Judy girl.
Are you?
I just said to my manager, I'm not doing this anymore. You know, and I just thought, I've got to change. I've got to have a change.
He said, I've done everything I can do with Lily. I've had it. I've had it with Savage. And in my mind, that was the end of Lily. And I went, are you sure?
Everybody loved Lily, and everyone wanted Lily.
How brave is that? I mean, who does that?
It was a big, bold move.
Paul was the most fearless, generous, gifted, gobbyist, achingly funny man. He once had business cards printed that said, Lily Savage, riot consultant, Brixton, Toxteth, Los Angeles. And we might add Birkenhead to that, which is where it all began, of course. The place where his wit, values, and compassion all stem from.
Yes, he's the man behind the makeup and the miniskirt of Lily Savage, Paul O'Grady. She is, I mean, an extraordinary creation.
Oh, yes. I had this image of this hard-bitten hooker, you know, from Birkenhead, her roots showing and her ripping her tights and a big handbag.
The one and only Lily Savage.
But I'm not schizo about it, though. The wig goes on, you got Lily. The wig comes off, you've got me.
He couldn't really have been as outrageous as a man as he could be when he was wearing the mask.
It's a fully realised person. Lily can answer any question. Lily can tell you about anything that happened in her past, because sort of it did happen.
How do you explain Lily Savage? You know, I mean, how do you do it? One day I was a quiet, sort of little altar boy. You know, and then I saw Gypsy on the TV, starring Natalie Wood, making an absolutely drop-dead, gorgeous Gypsy Rose Lee from young girl into the star stripper. This is the number that got me into show business.
You can sacrifice your sacro, working in the back row, bump and a dump till you're dead.
I hadn't really seen many musicals, let alone musicals with strippers in it. I went downhill from there. I was enjoying growing up, and I was really enjoying finding out about my sexuality.
This book, it's one that was in a bookcase upstairs with his little... What he used to do is sketches.
I'm finding out what was on the buffet, you know, what was on the menu.
And there's Mo. I'm Sheila, Paul's elder sister. He was about 14 or 15. He just used to sit and doodle. That's another one.
Are these Paul's drawings?
Yeah.
Well, what a treat. Well, hair, breasts, legs. Sexy. Oh, that was Lily.
Oh, that's interesting. Glamorous women who look like they're drag queens. Funnily enough, I did similar things. I was constantly drawing a face and with heavily made up eyes. It's probably a subconscious thing predicting our futures, some way of expressing then what we still need to express now, perhaps. I'm Julian Clary, and I'm a renowned homosexual.
Oh, look! It's almost like he's drawn bits of Lily. Look at the beauty spot there and those eyes. Look, and he used to do that, didn't he? One eye shut and like the embryo of Lily, isn't it? It's a library book. He's actually defaced a library book. Naughty, naughty.
I was born in Birkenhead on the Wirral. Not a poor house, you know, just an ordinary little 2-up, 2-down house. To very Catholic parents.
Children in the streets of Birkenhead. Last year, 6 out of 7 school leavers couldn't get a job. For them, the prospects are bleak.
I always sought excitement, and I deliberately go out my way to find it. I have a romantic view of Liverpool, and it's never left me. So when I go over on the ferry boat, I still get that funny churn in my stomach when I see the library buildings and get the smell of diesel oil and salt water. I love it. As a child, it was my personal little Camelot. Nothing else existed.
Whenever you're looking sensational, do I detect a certain Oriental influence in the outfit?
Well, this is me Shanghai Lil look. Yeah. It is. The deadly white flower of the Whittle, honestly. It took more than one man to change my name to Shanghai Lily, I'm telling you.
When I discovered the gay scene and I naturally met flamboyant characters and thought, yeah, I want a slice of this now, thank you.
The Liverpool gay scene in the late 70s, it was good fun. Although it was legal, it was still not out in the open as what it is now.
My name is Moira, and I'm a friend of Paul's from 1989.
I am Alan, also known as Vera.
Well, I've got one sister, but she's not actually my sister. She was adopted. It's just, well, what happened was we found her on the step, you know, in a little basket and a label round her neck. She was 28, like, at the time, but... So that's our Vera.
My auntie was called Vera Cheeseman. So when I did the double act with him, I became Vera Cheeseman.
In the gay community, they all had girls' names. That was normal to me. Vera's always been Vera. My dad's best friend. I'm Sharon Mosley, and I'm Paul's daughter.
Many years ago, I bought a turkey off a fella off the back of a wagon. Now, this turkey, Barbara, was about 28 stone. It was rock hard, deep frozen. So I put it in the bath to defrost. So I come in Christmas Eve, and I put my hand in the bathroom and grabbed it by the ankle. I got a big dollop of red hot Paxo, and I was just about to shove it up a set, and I looked, it was our Vera.
We like the same things.
Art, you know,
No,
literature.
Going out and getting pissed.
The first gay bar I went to, this sort of pretty 17-year-old. I go down into the bar and I went, there's men dancing together.
I've never seen that before, obviously, because I've never been in a gay bar.
You know, it's sort of men kissing on the dance floor. Like, oh, my God.
After my first time there, I was out every night.
Being being centred on a river as famous as the Mersey, the docks obviously play a vital role in the area's life.
Liverpool was a thriving port. Now, a thriving port means thriving sailors.
Paul would pick up sailors at Liverpool docks and bring them back for a bit of, shall we say, friendly entertainment. He was obsessed with strippers, prostitutes and tarts.
And what used to make me laugh was if you went in the gay bars then with a gang of sailors, you were instantly branded as a tart. I absolutely revelled in this notoriety. I used to work in a pub. All the sailors used to come in, and a gang of Chinese came in one night. So off I went to this Chinese ship, best meal ever, booze flowing, fucking hoot. And then, of course, I go into work the next night, and there was a very sardonic barman called Brian. And he said, oh, here she is, Shanghai Lily. And that's where it came from. So it stuck. I was known as Shanghai Lil.
I've got a real eye-opener for you now. Someone you may not have had in your living room before. Now, she's a self-made woman, probably from the bits that no one else wanted, actually. Give us a bit about your background, then.
I'm actually from, I'm from a little fishing village, and it's opposite Liverpool. It's called Birkenhead. It's a little... We knew what poverty was when I was a kid. So I thought I'd go to London and try and earn some money. You know, that's what happened. I used to be a social worker, believe it or not. And honestly, yeah.
I didn't know anyone else like Paul. I mean, obviously very, very funny and unique, but did actually really care about injustices in the world and did a lot of very kind things that no one knows about.
I was a peripatetic care officer, basically a skivvy. Rather than split the kids up and put them into various homes and stuff, I'd go in and look after them.
He was always a very caring person, which is why I think he was a social worker for so long, even while he was doing his act.
Well, I think he used to have, he used to take kids on days out, like about 10 of them. Well, you wouldn't kind of do that now without about 4 other people.
He wasn't really trained as a social worker or nothing. And yet, they left him with, like, 5 kids, for a week.
Pretty bleak.
Yeah.
You know, you'd find yourself living in a house for, say, 6 months, looking after 5 unruly kids. You know, it was a sort of very strange Mary Poppins.
Vera and Paul were hilarious. I mean, honestly, they were a double act, really. They were so funny together. My name's Brenda Gilhooly, and I'm a comedian. And I was Gal Tuesday. He used to tell me lots of stories about being a social worker. You just think, oh, my God.
Paul had looked after this old lady in this tiny little room. He'd gone in there one morning and the old lady had died in the bed. We were way behind on the rent. We couldn't afford the rent. We were going to have to do a runner from this flat we were living in. He still had the key for this flat. And off we went, moved in there, the 3 of us.
So just to be clear, you basically moved in the house of a dead old lady?
Yeah.
When I first came to London, I went to a pub called the Black Cap, which was a drag pub. It's gone now. And they had lots and lots of acts on. I thought these were fabulous creatures. I thought, what a wonderful lifetime. You get up and you mime to records. And it's good money. And I thought, yeah, I want a slice of this now, thank you.
And then one day, this act appeared who come on in a little pair of dark brown leather shorts, a white shirt, a little Peter Pan wig and a whip. And I remember saying, this one's crap, he won't get anywhere. Oh, I'm biting my tongue now, aren't I?
Getting into drag, well, that's been part of popular entertainment in this country for a long time, and it survives in the dame part in the pantomime.
Drag is a broad church. There's people who like to do drag because they want to look extraordinary or fabulous. Some want to look beautiful and very feminine. But with makeup on, I looked worse. I looked about 90 years old.
There was a time when I sort of said, maybe, Alan, you should do drag. Maybe you're a beautiful woman. And then I did it, and I was like, no, you're a munter. You know, I find sometimes washing pain in the arse, let alone shaving me legs and putting a lipstick on.
In this country, it's a real tradition of comedy. We want to laugh.
This pub in Vauxhall, it's gone now. It's a Starbucks, but it used to be called the Elephant and Castle. They had a talent night, and I was working behind the bar as usual. I said to the man, I could do better than that. So he said, well, go on then. And I had a mate who was a fabulous tailor. And I said, make us a real Who's outfit. And so the following week, up I got and just did it.
Shut up. You're unnatural then, I'm sorry. Ain't it, John, please?
Savage was really just another mime act. But then when he decided to go live, the world changed.
But you're from California. Well, somebody's got to live there, I suppose. That's the good thing about America. You keep Americans there, don't you? You know what I mean?
Once you started talking, there was a wit that you could use that you couldn't use when you were lip-syncing. It changed all of us, and we became... You could identify with our personalities.
She came on, and it was almost like a challenge to the audience. And it was like being whipped into line by a lion tamer with 29 whips.
Oh, you don't know my methods of how I deal with people? Like ripping legs off and whacking them with the wet fucking end straight across an oversized fucking gobs.
I'm Michael Cashman, Lord Cashman of Limehouse, but Savage would call me a whore and a harlot. He was aggressive. He was in your face. I mean, people used to pay to go into the clubs to be insulted by you.
You're not heterosexuals, are you? Really? Well, there's the door. Fuck off, you know what I mean?
He loved it because he could really be as crude as he liked and as rough as he liked, and they'd all absolutely love it.
I was working in social services, so it was a good way of getting the tension out of the day with what I'd seen I could do on stage. And because Lily was supposed to be a working-class single mum, it was really ideal. I was poached by the Vauxhall Tavern. I think they offered me an extra tenner and being a bit of a whore, off I went. And that was it. And I worked there for 8 years. It was like our village hall. We had lock-ins and we had funerals there and parties there and Christmases there. It was like our village hall.
My name's John Campbell and I'm known as Ebony. I used to be a drag artist on the stage at the Vauxhall Tavern many, many moons ago. I'm sitting in the dressing room of the Royal Vauxhall Tavern. It would be very hot and sweaty. I mean, we're talking about the pub absolutely rammed packed. And the heat in here would make it like a sauna. So you imagine 7 drag artists in here, full makeup, trying to do costume changes and all the rest.
We were sort of bumping into each other, trying to put our makeup on, and platforms and heels and wings.
I'm supposed to wash a dish and that.
And you think, how can we all fit all this in this small space? But we did.
I'm just coming in now, a package of ciggies, and I'm going to make a joint.
But the atmosphere was electric.
Turn that fucking off now.
It was like your drunken auntie at a wedding with a microphone in her hand, that, you know, getting up back to sing. That's what he was like.
I mean, I had aunties who, like, wiped the floor at me if they was to go on stage. They were hilarious. Even the way they smoked and stood and tucked their rollers out was funny. There's a lot of my Auntie Chrissy and Lily. She used to think she looked like Marlene Dietrich. She was a clippy on the buses and she was dead glam. She was witty and she had a great string of one-liners. She was a talker, Birkenhead.
When he was Lily, you could tell that it was coming from a real place.
I'm glad to be able to get away from my sister Vera. Because now, you never mind going, have you seen her?
I couldn't think of anything more terrifying than Lily's beady eye landing on you if you were sitting in the audience.
Can some of these occupational therapists deal with this person down here, please?
Lily had an evil tongue, didn't she? I mean, my dad did as well, but I think he'd get away with more dressed, you know, yeah, as a character.
And he's in a little green card.
Could say things that he couldn't say as Paul, so Lily got away with murder.
It was just
Lily's house. You know, it wasn't an act, it wasn't a turn. Lily just owned the place.
She could control a whole room with charisma, but also with that kind of aggression.
Every Thursday we would go to the Vauxhall Tavern, and Lily was scurrilous and filthy and real. It was just, it was a great night.
See, I wasn't allowed to see a lot of Lily when I was little. I think because of the language, and I didn't understand a lot of the jokes anyway. I was about 7, I was having a birthday party, and my dad said, "Oh, I've got a great surprise for you." Swallows this fluid and then starts fire eating in my mum's little flat. You know, and then there were sort of scorch marks on the ceiling. All the girls were screaming because like, "Oh, it's a fire, it's a fire." You know, I was mortified, but he thought he was like, and he's doing all this and he's like blowing fire. Like, I'm 7, I wanted like a clown. As I got older, I went to see Lily. It was a lot to take in because he was my dad at the end of the day, so he's got like 6-inch heels on with a massive blonde wig.
Well, I used to go around to Vicky Mansions before gigs, and it was like a Lily Savage wonderland. You'd go in and there'd be costumes everywhere, like on the table, on the floor, there'd be a wig.
My dad used to just leave bin bags round. He was working nights and then sleeping days. And I also remember going to the shop and getting tights for him. And the guy would say, "Are you coming in for your dad's tights?" But I'd be like, "Yeah, have you got tan and black?" That was just normal. He used to leave me in the flat and go and work. I used to just love looking at his makeup. I remember walking around the flat with his thigh-high boots on, thinking I was all grown up. I was about 13.
Paul used to carry Lily around in big plastic bags, you know, those outrageous beehive wigs that he had. Were not carefully looked after. They were just dumped in a black bin bag, and his costume's the same. I don't know how long it took him to put on the makeup. I never saw him do it. But I wish I had, because I'd like to have seen that moment when Paul wasn't there anymore and Lily had arrived.
I wonder if my mother will be watching this. What time do they go to bed in Holloway?
People say to me now, "Isn't it strange that Paul O'Grady is your dad and Lily Savage?" I'm like, I don't know any difference. So, Mum and Dad met in the early 70s. They were just friends.
One thing led to another.
And then poof, yeah. Sharon was born. I think he didn't know if he was gay or straight when I was born, so he liked to just keep everything separate. Went to London, he was having a career.
I had been hearing all about Lily Savage. It was in my earliest days in London in 1988 and 89, and I stood at the back of this packed pub and watched the relationship that Lily had already established with the audiences. They were passionate about her. It was astounding.
Savage ruled that place.
I was just in shock. I was just so amazed that somebody that good could be just playing pubs. I just thought, well, it's just got to be because it's drag. It was considered the lowest form of show business.
And I remember, you know, we would watch him and we would go, that is so funny. That person, that character, that humour will never, ever appear on television. How wrong we were.
Paul always felt on the side of the underdog. You know, and in the 80s, it was so clear who the underdogs were.
Hello, London Gay Switchboard. Can I help you? You think you've got AIDS? Why is that?
The voluntary workers here have had as many as 400 calls a week from homosexuals desperate for advice and help.
When HIV and AIDS came along, we were all so scared because no one knew where it came from, no one knew how you got it, and no one knew or seemed to care how you got rid of it.
Oh, God, it was dreadful. I'll never forget it. I was either at hospitals or at funerals for about 2 to 3 years.
I said to Savage, "I can't do this anymore, dear. I cannot." We were burying friends like this If you had AIDS, you might as well just say, I'm dead.
People were told that they could catch it from being next to a gay man or using a cup or a glass. So people would say, I want you and your mob out, and there was no defense that you could take against it. It was used as another reason to push us underground. And who was there? Savage.
We were going in to visit our friends in hospitals, and they were all being treated like lepers, really. Paul used to go into the wards dressed as Lily and would go and sort of entertain the troops.
We were doing shows on the wards, and I'd be a hooery nurse with 3 bottles, one full of red wine, one full of white.
Like a trolley dolly, red or white. He used to really cheer them all up.
I can't tell you how many charities we both, well, all of us did for it, and lost a lot of colleagues at that time. Savage was such a supporter, but I think that changed our lives. It also brought us very much closer to who we were working to. Scared people who didn't understand why they were being singled out.
And I think for our own sanity, other than entertaining an audience of people that were grieving, we had to do the act.
That's when drag was a help, and I think it drew the acts closer together. You know, we were needed. It was wonderful to be needed.
There was a guy I knew from the tavern, seriously ill. And I said, is there anything you want? And he said, I'd kill for a fag. And I gave it to him. He said, I can't smoke at all. He said, hey, oh, Lil, finish it. And I could see that, like, everyone's face. Is he going to put the ciggy in his mouth? So I took it off him quite casually and smoked it. Because I didn't want to go, no, I'm all right, thanks, I won't bother. Because he'd had quite enough of that before he came into hospital.
There was such a need for compassion that wasn't being given by, you know, the authorities. And I think that kind of goes back to his gut reaction to the underdog and just wanting to be doing something supportive.
The people he ranted and raved about a lot tended to be authority figures.
He would always kick against the man, wherever he was. I think that's where he got a lot of his energy from, didn't it? When he was creative energy, he had to have a them and us.
The arrests began after hundreds of demonstrators resisted police efforts to move them on.
From the middle 80s through to the 90s, there was this period when it was like a full-on battle between the government and a lot of people. So Lily Savage fitted perfectly well into that. I'm Jules Holland, and I'm an expert. You know, that crowd, that sort of rough alternative crowd, as I'm sure I was part of, they really loved Lily because they could see that there was something slightly of an outsider about Lily and slightly edgy.
We all hated Maggie Thatcher with a vengeance because she was a vile Tory bitch.
Children who need to be taught to respect traditional moral values are being taught that they have an inalienable right to be gay. All of those children are being cheated of a sound start in life. Yes, cheated.
Clause 28 will prevent local authorities from actively promoting homosexuality. Campaigners say it's an attack on basic human rights.
And we said, and Savage was there with us, if you want a fight, we'll give you a fucking fight.
The reason we're here tonight, the three of us, is because of Clause 28, yes. We went to Kensington Gardens and there's Peter Pan's statue covered up. Just because he lives with a load of lost boys, right? And fairy, and his best friend's called Wendy, you know what I mean?
Sir Chris Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I don't know whether the Deputy Prime Minister ever met Lily Savage or has ever spent a night out at the Royal Vauxhall Tavern. But Lily was performing at the height of the AIDS crisis in 1987 when police officers raided the pub, arrested her amongst others. They were wearing rubber gloves because supposedly they were protecting themselves from contracting HIV from touching gay men.
It's a true story, and we were there. There was all hell let loose. No one knew what was going on. There was police in there, chucking people into the street.
I was in the dressing room and this copper burst in, and I said, "Are you the stripper?" Which she would do, you know, you'd think he was a male stripper.
How dare they? They treated us like crap.
Savage was having none of it, because he was effing and blind to the policeman. He was calling them names, all sorts were going on, and all I could hear was Savage on the mic, bad-mouthing the coppers. I thought, any minute now, he's going to get dragged and chucked into the back of a police car.
There must have been about 30 or 40 coppers, all wearing rubber gloves. So I shouted from the top of the steps,
Lads, you've come to do the washing up. That's great.
and pandemonium broke out.
Her alter ego, Paul O'Grady, campaigned acerbically and hilariously against oppression of every kind. Isn't it time we in this country celebrated our naughty, hilarious drag queens and comics of every kind who inspire us to be a better and more generous nation?
I remember years ago, I was walking past the Empire Theatre in Liverpool. I was about 16, didn't have a job. And my cousin said, "Why don't you go in there and ask them if there's anything you can do?" And I said, "Like what?" And she said, "I don't know. Tearing tickets or cleaning or something." And then I go back now and, like, you know, it's my own show and I'm there for the week at the Empire. Working class, Liverpudlian, gay, drag act.
So were you very surprised when Lily transferred over?
Oh, yeah.
He was very edgy. He was very 80s. But times change. And he was on the verge of becoming very famous very quickly and not knowing how to deal with it because he'd never been famous before. Savage decided he needed a manager. Brendan volunteered, and Brendan kind of ran with it. Brendan's name was Brendan Murphy, but Savage always called him Murphy. Savage is rock. Always was, always will be. Brendan and I were very close. We were really good mates. We were rehearsing one of our shows and he decided to come down and watch it. Savage was on, giving it what for, kicking off about something or the other. And he said to me, "Who's that loudmouth Liverpudlian in your show?" I said, "Savage." He said, "Cool, blimey, Savage by name, Savage by nature." I said, "I know, dear, you're right." And Savage said, "Who's that?" I said, "That's Brendan, he's my flatmate." "Oh, he's a bit tasty, Doris." And the rest is history. We used to call them Bonnie and Clyde because that's exactly what they were like. Savage had plenty to say and Brendan was very cool and calm.
Murphy was the brains, so both of them working together, they knew what they were doing.
And he started not just working gay bars, but different venues and theatres and stuff like that.
So every stage he was there to sort of manage and push him to the next phase.
Murphy was a loner, and we both hated the same people and hated the same things, which is always a wonderful foundation for a loving relationship.
It was so opposite. Brendan was very calm, Savage was very leery.
I did bring the phone. Why didn't you?
I had the fucking phone going, but it takes me time to answer it, you know. I'm a quick-draw bastard McGraw.
It rang until the...
Open them curtains, maybe, and I'll open a vein. I'm telling you now.
Funny thing about Brendan is just Brendan's silence and not being phased at all was like a total wind-up.
You can't beat a jazz bounce. I'm getting up. I can tell you I'm getting up. No, I am.
And so I think Brendan and Paul used to have quite a few rows.
They never ever lived together or anything, so...
Someone would have died if they'd lived together, wouldn't they?
So
They could have an argument about anything.
I've seen Savage pick Murphy up by the scruff of his pants and the collar of his shirt and hurl him over the bar at the Vauxhall Tavern.
You're not a clown, is it, to have a baby?
I remember the first big fight they had when we were on tour in Australia ended with Sav saying, "Call the airport, I'm going home, I'm flying home." This is before we'd even opened. I thought, oh no, the tour's over. The tour's over. And then half an hour later, they couldn't even remember what they'd fought about. They liked to fight in front of people, for display only.
And he worked like a Trojan to make him the star he became.
Anyway, good evening. No, liven up, please. Come along. Good evening, Lily, is the reply. Good evening.
There used to be this thing called the Perrier Award, which was the top comedy award of the year at the Edinburgh Fringe. And everybody was desperate to be nominated, and then they were desperate to win.
I've been with my fella 9 years and I ate his guts. It's a very open marriage, our marriage. I'm hoping he'll fuck off one of these days.
I remember hearing that Lily was doing Edinburgh, And I remember thinking, really? How is that going to work? Like, you know, because in my head, there was such a difference between a pub act, a cabaret act, and doing an hour in Edinburgh. I didn't know what Lily was going to do for an hour.
His first show at Edinburgh Festival was in a tiny little room that had a low ceiling, and he was doing the fire-eating act. And he set off the fire alarms, and the entire venue was evacuated out onto Princes Street. And we're talking maybe 7 shows of people. But, of course, it got front-page coverage, and he sold out for the rest of the run.
And I got nominated for the Perrier, which I didn't have a clue what it was. I didn't even know you got reviewed. And, you know, The Guardian was saying, oh, thinking man's drag queen. These scarves are nice, look. And that's where it started. Is it a savage clan, do you reckon?
Well, I think most of them were, but I didn't...
Savage, yeah. The one time I couldn't get on Richard and Judy to plug a tour. And I've been on Richard and Judy 28 times now.
OK. My name is Richard. I'm Richard Madeley. I'm basically a daytime TV presenter, and that is where I came into contact with Lily.
How you doing?
Were you telling me about those shoes earlier?
I bought them in a shop in New York, which specialises in footwear for hookers. And the thing is, they're really good because they're reinforced with steel.
So you can kick?
Well, you can kick and you can also be on them for 9 hours a night on cobbles. Not that I do, you must understand.
And I have to tell you that when we first used Lily Savage on the programme, we got calls from our head office in Manchester saying, we can't have her on again. She pushes it too far, she's over the top.
Lovely.
Is that all whiskey?
Yeah.
Well, you are tall, Leslie.
I'm only having a little one today.
We said, you're wrong. You couldn't be more wrong. And Lily became a mainstay of This Morning.
That's lovely.
You can't mix that with whiskey, Lily.
I wasn't going to mix it with whiskey. I was going to have it separately. What do you think I am? Thank you very much.
Lily Savage knew exactly how far she could go.
Very nice, though.
Exactly how far to push the envelope.
And, OK, finish up in Spain.
The thing is, back then, you didn't really see that many spoof working-class women at that time on television at all. But you didn't really see many real working-class women. And the thing about Lily was the perfect fusion of the two.
Judy Finnegan, you've got me rotten drunk.
All right, a caricature, but still a representation of working-class northern reality, and particularly Liverpudlian Scouse reality.
I always thought it was much easier to think of Lily as a woman because of the very female way that Lily talked.
Have you got keys to his flat? I'll tell you a really good one. Go in and sew prawns in the hem of his curtain. It's true.
He couldn't have done that if he'd just, you know, come on as Paul.
Deal with him. I'm telling you now, don't let him walk all over you. Deal with him. Don't have no messing.
Lily could communicate with people in a very... It was like talking to someone on the top of the bus or at the bus stop. It was very down to earth.
It's Lily Savage!
Eventually, I ended up in kids' telly, lying on the bed of the big breakfast, dressed as a hooker, at 7:30 in the morning, and nobody flinched.
Shut up! Shut up!
Of all people, why on earth have they asked someone to be on breakfast telly that don't go to bed at night until 4 in the morning?
Go back, please. It's too early. Get lost.
Lily, have you got something there to talk to?
I'm going to belt him in a minute, that cameraman.
It was live. It was ad-lib. There was no script.
This was so surreal. There was my mate on telly, in bed with Cher. No, that ain't real. Crazy.
Julian. Julian. Shit.
Oh, are we on?
We're on.
I couldn't think of anything better than a drag queen on breakfast telly. How fantastic.
You're never happy unless you're working. I've noticed this with you.
Well, it's very fulfilling, isn't it? Going out and being jolly and making people laugh.
Well, yeah, if you're
What's
in the mood.
your motivation, then?
The cash.
The money.
That's it. It's cash. What else do you
Part
think?
of the genius of Lily and of Paul, which is very difficult to do, is to be real all the time. And it comes across as, you know, genuine. Because a lot of men think that all it takes to turn a woman on is the smell of vomit.
Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Well, there's more to it than that.
No, a kebab down the back of me cardi on the night bus isn't going to get my engine running, I tell you. It does happen, Julian, doesn't it?
Some people, actors who are known for the character that they inhabit, sometimes they can come to resent the character because they feel it's restricting them.
It's a bit sad, really, you know, tired old queen dressing up, wearing makeup.
No, it's not, because I can't go out without lippy, you know.
I never felt that about Lily and Paul. That's what happened later on in his career. He was happy as Lily Savage.
So I first met him as Lily, not Paul. It was in Edinburgh, and we were both doing publicity for our shows, and I arrived quite early in the morning, 9 o'clock, I think it was, to find Paul already there, dressed as Lily with a fag on. Hello, Ian. We were friends thereafter. Let's see if I can find it. I'd invited Paul to be my date for the opening of my film, Richard III. And he turned up full drag makeup, lovely blonde wig. And when we sat down in the dark in the cinema and he was talking away, well, was it Paul talking or was it Lily? I couldn't tell the difference.
Please welcome Lily Savage!
What was extraordinary for all of us watching was the rise of Lily onto television and beyond. That was what was wonderful.
Nice to have you popping in.
Yes,
pleasure. You're a busy kid.
I've done Blankety Blank. I've just one more night to do on a tour in Liverpool, and then I'm finished. I've done a video. I've written this book, and I'm doing Annie.
What happened with Sabs was that just the money was coming in and he could afford Martin. And Martin is a genius costumier. The money wasn't a problem. So the sky was the limit. And, oh, my goodness, those costumes.
Tight. They're as tight as a crab's arse in the BBC. I'm tight. Well, you think, oh, BBC, all these costume epics, you know what I mean? I'm going to get here, I'm going to be dressed to death. I got here, got tucked to wardrobe, and the wardrobe mistress said to me, she said, we're very thrifty here, you know. I mean, we don't waste licence payers' money. She said, we recycle. There's your gowns. They were all old Gloria Runniford, Nesta Ranston stuff. I can never get away from dressing up, ever. So, and I'm of the opinion that if you go... I don't like to go on a stage in a T-shirt and jeans. That, to me, is not showbiz.
Oh, there's a nice one. Look at that. Paul could wear a bin bag and he would have just still been funny. The Lily Savage persona was mostly Paul. The costumes came in just to sort of fill the gaps, really. He was really into what he wore, and it was really important to him. I'm Martin Owen Taylor, and for the most of a decade, I was the main costume designer for Lily Savage. The words that stick in my mind are, it needs to be really tarty, it needs to look cheap and tacky, you know, or Larry. It needs to look really Larry. That's like a sort of like tatty barmaid look. Two-tone, look how short it is. I mean, he looked like a right tart in this. Well, Dolly Parton used to say it costs a lot of money to look this cheap, and that was the same for Savage as well. And I think Savage really took that mantra and ran with it, you know. It's just the dream job. It's like having your own Barbie that you can dress up.
I first saw him on Clive James's show, and I'd never, ever seen anyone like him, or her. I was just laughing my head off.
The only time I ever felt sorry for the Queen was when Maggie got the boot. And the Queen was sat on the couch, she was relaxing, she was watching Home and Away, and she had ski pants on and men's socks. And she took her teeth out and shut them down the sides of the couch. And she was sat there with her feet up on the poofy, and Princess Margaret's at the window, and she got the nets back, sucking on a ciggy. Like... You'll never guess who's coming down the street. And the Queen said, if she knocks on that door, don't answer it. Just get away. Next thing, there's a bang at the door, and the Queen, Margaret, get away from that window. Get away, get away. Turn that telly down. Get away, get in the kitchen, quick. Who opened the front door? The Queen Mother. Why? She thought it was catalogue stuff, so she opens it, lets her in.
And then I was at Middlesex University, and I did a stand-up comedy module. My thesis was blonde comedians, and I watched on VHS Lily live at the Garrick, and that was my text.
Okay. You're not clapping.
So I've analysed it. That's how much she had the effect on me. It was just fantastic storytelling.
You know what? Well, this is true, this. I went to Heathrow yesterday, and I'm standing there, and I'm having a ciggy, and I know there's signs everywhere saying no smoking, but I thought they put them up for a laugh, so I took no notice. And this little shite, this little Hitler, cleaning superintendent, went, disgusting. And I go over to him and he took me in the back. Can you read? I said, yes, I can. That's why I'm not washing floors in Heathrow now. Fuck off.
What Lily was counterculture. She wasn't making an argument about gender or the difference between men and women. What Lily took on were mainstream targets, politicians, officialdom. It wasn't specifically to do with the fact that Lily was an enlarged version of a woman. It was just that Lily was pure stroppiness in 3D.
The rebel in him, the idea of trying to control Paul, it was impossible. And when his career took off, his TV career took off, I mean, I think there was an element of you take me or leave me.
You know, I'd bung the wig on a go, there she is. It's a suit of armour. That's what I used to say. You can hide behind it.
Yeah.
And also you can say all manner of stuff that you can't say as yourself.
I can't remember Paul ever saying how much he loved something. And when we did panto together, he would come into my dressing room every day, several times. I'm fucking sick of this. This is ridiculous. I can't do this. I'm not in tomorrow. But he really loved panto. It was that way of letting off steam. Default position was moaning, absolutely. But you had to read between the lines. What it really meant was he's having a great time. It's the ghost of Lily Savage hammering some BBC executive's head on the floor, I think.
I hope, in a way, being miserable made Paul happy, because he was so good at it. It's certainly what he did the most. There was very little small talk. You met him, and something was grinding his gears, and off he'd go.
I think every black cab driver in London has a story about Paul O'Grady. He was stuck in a traffic jam. Just got out, slammed the door, walked 2 cars up and got into another black cab, which was still in the traffic jam, but it was a bit of a victory for him, because at least he was 2 cars ahead. And then I heard someone, did he get out and someone have a row with someone and hit him over the head with a baguette? Always a drama with him, always.
So, Lily, I just want to check these quotes.
OK.
I hate professional Liverpudlians.
Did I say that?
Well, that's what the Daily Mirror says.
Oh, well, you can't believe tabloid journalism. You know what they're like.
All the press really has a lot to answer for, with millions of readers and infecting them with bias. Do you know what I mean? You were still a puff in a frock. I do like privacy, yeah. I don't want to share my life, but when I started doing it on television, and my daughter was hounded by the tabloids. She was running one, 2 guys running after her. She thought the obvious, you know, she was about to be attacked. They were from a tabloid newspaper.
I think the press found out he had a daughter because he'd never mentioned it, and he was at Lily Fame then, I think. So he was on holiday and it all come out.
You know, they always used to say, Paul O'Grady's secret daughter, or which often they use Lily Savage's secret daughter, which of course it isn't. I never made a secret of it from day one. I always said, you know, I was a single father, I had a daughter. I could never see a big issue in it, you see, because other people can.
It was just like no one's business.
The thing about Paul was he was exactly the same whether you were having a cup of tea with him or if he was actually fronting a show. But before I knew Paul well, I'd take everything on face value. He went on tour and he said, would you like to be my support act? We were doing 2,000 seaters and everywhere was sold out. I remember going into a dressing room. I went, hi, Paul. And he said, oh, hi. He said, I'm not going on. And I went, oh, my God. And I just completely took it at face value. I went, oh, my God. And you could hear the audience coming in on the tannoy in the dressing room. And I went, I can't believe it. And I just felt like really sweaty and weird at the thought of it. We could hear them coming in. It was sold out. And when the wig came off and beads came off, I thought, oh, I can't believe this is happening. I said, Paul, what are we going to do? I said, what about the audience? He went, fuck them. I said, oh, my God. I thought, I can't believe this is happening. And then 5 minutes later, oh, all right, we'll go on.
How do we explain that this
Liverpool slag who turns tricks, as you say, is suddenly on mainstream television. I mean, blankety blank. I mean, Terry Wogan move over.
I know, God knows. Well, welcome to Blankety Blank, and what a stunning show we've got for you tonight, I tell you. Look at this lineup.
I think that is the great thing about us Brits, that we can have a drag queen come onto a panel show and no one really questions it. They just go with it, don't they?
And the highest score we're going to play for one of our fabulous prizes. Ooh.
Well, Blankety Blank was a nightmare because we do at least maybe 2 shows a day, and you'd get the audiences in for the earlier session and then they'd come in for the later ones and they'd all have trains to catch. But he would have spent so long in between takes telling jokes. You know, people would be getting up and leaving because they had to go and get their trains, or I'd just be sat there just howling with laughter and just not able to go home. But he just couldn't stop himself.
I've got it together. I'm like the warden of an asylum here. Asylum. What would you like me to say?
He came alive when he was in front of an audience. That was his preferred place, really. It needn't be a big audience. It could just be a couple of people.
What have I got to say? Is this for going out in people's houses?
You see the true Lily when you look at, on YouTube. There are outtakes from when she was hosting Blankety Blank. And she is being fully vile and complaining about everything.
Why do I have to say this, mate? If you get bloody Gloria Runnyfoot in, she's good at this.
You know, swearing at directors and cameramen, everything. And it's truly Lily. It is very funny, and the audience adoring it.
Plenty of them. Been to Cali once on a day trip. You sod off.
That version of Lily wouldn't have presented Blankety Blank. That version of Lily would have just gone, what the fuck is this?
Because you hear that rotten tune 10 times. Blankety Blank, Blankety Blank, Blankety Blank. It's wake up in the morning, Blankety Blank, Supermatch Game. You just smash my head on the sink to try and stop it.
I do get bored easily. I'll flit from one thing to another, and I can move on and do something else. I remember years ago, I said, when I'm 40, I'm packing this up. I knew I didn't.
He talked about stopping doing Lily for years. That was just part of his personality. Sometimes you need to change, and he was so fed up of painting the same face day in, day out, and putting the costume on, the tights, the girdles, you know, doing all that.
Paul would say, I'm sick of this. He would say that about everything. I'm sick of this, not doing that again. So what happens if you say that all the time, when it's true, it comes as a surprise.
Good evening and welcome to the Royal Variety Performance 2001.
He was always wanting to do You Gotta Get a Gimmick. It goes right back to when he saw Gypsy as a kid.
Edit, fellas. Take it away.
This is the number, really, that kick-started me into a desire to go into showbiz. You gotta get a gimmick.
You gotta get a gimmick if you wanna get a hand.
But at the age of 11, I didn't have a clue what I was gonna do. You know, because I didn't have a gimmick then.
If you wanna make it, twinkle while you're shaking.
Bawdy,
Wait till you refine it.
rash,
You wanna bump it with a trumpet.
wonderful.
From the age of 5, I could recite the whole of Gypsy, and that's because of him. He taught me to twizzle things. And what 5-year-old can do that, really?
I had a ball. It was fabulous. But that was it. I just said to my manager, I'm not doing this anymore. I had loads of work in as Lily, so it was a brave step for me, really, because I've never been myself on television. You know, and I just thought, I've got to change. I've got to have a change. And I'm not one of these people who'd say, oh, well, I've had a great time. I'll go back to my council flat. Once you've been used to the high life, you can't go back.
Probably when Paul was starting out, the idea of being just a funny gay guy from Liverpool seemed impossible. So I think Lily was kind of Paul's way onto a stage. and finding his own voice. And it was only when you get to meet Paul and get to know Paul, you realise, oh, that's Paul in a wig. That's what that is.
I remember the interview you did with Paul. It was at the back end of the 90s, wasn't it? For the first time as Paul.
Well, I'm delighted to say we're joined now by the man behind the woman. It's Paul O'Grady. Paul O'Grady, our great programme friend.
I remember he was quite nervous about it as well, coming on as himself.
Oh, I've always interviewed you as Lily.
Well, this is it, and I'm always sort of sat here, so I feel like I should start screaming now or something.
Do you remember a few phone calls saying, look, it's going to be OK? Because he was worried, I think.
I'd sort of said, oh, I might pack it up as you do. You know what I mean? I pack up every day. That's it, I've had it, I'm not doing it. And there was this whole lecture about how dare this Paul O'Grady threaten to kill off Lily Savage. Don't you realise she's this, that and that? I thought, hang on a minute, this is me you're talking about.
As a bloke, you're very, very funny. I mean, it's been hilarious. It's just as funny as it is when you come in as Lily. Would you consider doing stand-up or doing something as yourself?
I'm not interested.
You don't want to do that?
I like a bit of... No, because it's sort of also it's my opinion then.
Yeah.
And it was Lily, you can say the most outrageous things and get away with it. But, I mean, if I was to say stuff like that, I'd be bottled off.
Yeah.
I think there must have been a kind of a pivotal moment when Paul understood that he could do it himself. You know, he could be as scurrilous and filthy and real as Lily ever was. Incredible for him to kind of be released from Lily.
I hate dressing up because one, it's so uncomfortable. I just don't like it at all. I don't get repulsed by it when I look in the mirror. It doesn't freak me out, but it does nothing for me that way. It's a costume.
I think he just got fed up doing it. And he had varicose veins as well. And...
Are you giving away his
that was
feminine secrets,
Well,
honey?
that's hardly a thing. No, but that's why he didn't like wearing the big heels anymore as well, which didn't help varicose
And
veins.
Lily Savage in Birkenstocks just wouldn't have worked.
People were prepared to give Paul O'Grady a break because they loved Lily Savage and they wanted to see what, if you like, Lily's brother looked like, you know, part of the family.
Is the act and the clothes and the makeup, are you hiding behind that?
Not now, I'm not. No, I was at the beginning, but I'm not now.
We went for coffee one day. He wanted to know how I felt about him giving up Lily. And I said, you're a fool. He said, well, I'll just be me. I said, well, it's your choice, but if you want my advice, which you've asked for, I'd say no. And I was completely wrong because he knew the time was right. He wasn't daft.
Hello there, my name's Lily Savage. Oh, God, it's not Lily Savage, it's Paul O'Grady. Shit.
I think, to be totally cynical about it, Lily had served her purpose. She'd established Paul as a mainstream character in British television and had propelled and accelerated Paul into that world in his own right.
Well, now you know. Feast your eyes at the man under that wig. But don't expect nothing classy. Don't expect no Michael Palin. Don't expect no Judith Chalmers, no Anthea. None of that business, because you're not going to get it. Oh, look at this.
This is the only chairman's suite in the world.
Oh, this is my room.
Yes, yes.
So you have this, like, it's a nightmare. It's Alice in Wonderland time. I go up here, and then I go in here, and then I come round again. I'm knackered, so I've only been up an hour.
I think doing the travel shows was quite a big step because Paul was never a very good traveller. Doesn't like waiting in queues, very picky eater. That in itself was a little bit of a worry.
Where's me bleeding socks?
He must have done 20 minutes complaining about that his hotel suite was too big and he couldn't find the toilet in the night. I mean, you know, come on, Paul. Really?
I've spent an hour trying to find the toilet. So I pissed in the sink in the end. I had to.
It was like almost kind of Lily unzipped and outstepped Paul.
Good evening. Thank you. Bit of us, please.
He's just as funny off as he is on. Then you realise that actually, you know, the man who gives Lily all those amazing jokes and lines to say is clearly Paul O'Grady.
And it's all here tonight on my own show, The Fools. The Fools! Broadcasting live to the nation, and they can't... I wish you'd get rid of this cup. It makes me look gay. Please. Please. I want a mug, a big builder's mug, a navvy's mug with a crack, stinking of nicotine.
You can hear Paul O'Grady talking and you can hear Lily Savage. If you don't listen carefully, sometimes it's hard to tell the difference.
Do you know what got my back up? Oh, those Tories whooping and hollering when they heard about the cuts. Did you see them?
Lily was the thing that made him laugh that would make other people laugh. But Paul, in the end, could do more things than Lily.
Oh, yay! I've sounded I was going to scrap the pension. Yay! No more wheelchairs. Yay! Bastards.
Lily Savage was the mouthpiece that Paul wanted. The minute Lily was no more, Paul still said all those things.
We should fight for the rights of the elderly, of the poor, of the sick, and of the little children's. Vive la Birkenhead! Vive la Revolution! I know, I'm like you, I can't be bothered, it's too cold.
Paul could rant just like Lily. Paul could be a huge grouch just like Lily. But Paul, I suppose, had a sweetness that Lily never had.
Maybe he had to be Lily first and then to come out as, then be Paul.
What more do you want? What more do you want?
Oh, wait, he's just having a sniff, like I used to in the old days.
Don't touch that. Get your hands off it.
I've always wanted to meet you.
Oh, get out of it, don't make it. I'm going to hide under the desk in a minute.
I will be back.
Promise?
Yes.
Promise?
Maybe we'll do a show.
You're on. You're
No.
definitely on.
He was the funniest person, but he also had that caring and sensitivity that goes alongside it. And that's Paul, and that's what the audience saw. And that's what the audience wanted.
This is my latest addition. This is sausage. This is sausage. Sausage came from Romania.
I've never known anyone who has such a rapport with animals. You adore them, don't you?
I do. I've always liked animals and I've always got on with them. Aren't they wonderful? This is heaven. See, when they show you the bum, that means they like you, and what you have to do is give it a little tickle. I wasn't going to tickle yours, honestly. I promise. Come on, let's see if you can't do a little wee for your mum, eh, before we go to bed.
And what do you call yourself?
I call myself a drag queen. Somebody says to me, what are you? A good old-fashioned drag queen, proud of it.
Lily was and is still loved to this day, but I think Paul was loved even more, quite rightly.
I remember years ago, I was walking past the Empire Theatre in Liverpool. I was about 16, didn't have a job. And my cousin said, why don't you go in there and ask them if there's anything you can do? And I said, like what? And she said, I don't know. Tearing tickets or cleaning or something. And then I go back now and, like, you know, it's my own show and I'm there for the week at the Empire. Working class, Liverpudlian, gay, drag act.
So were you very surprised when Lily transferred over?
Oh, yeah.
He was very edgy. He was very 80s. But times change. And he was on the verge of becoming very famous very quickly and not knowing how to deal with it because he'd never been famous before. Savage decided he needed a manager. Brendan volunteered, and Brendan kind of ran with it. Brendan's name was Brendan Murphy, but Savage always called him Murphy. Savage is rock. Always was, always will be. Brendan and I were very close. We were really good mates. We were rehearsing one of our shows, and he decided to come down and watch it. Savage was on, giving it what for, kicking off about something or the other. And he said to me, who's that loudmouth Liverpudlian in your show? I said, Savage. He said, cool, blimey, Savage by name, Savage by nature. I said, I know, dear, you're right. And Savage said, who's that? I said, that's Brendan, he's my flatmate. Oh, he's a bit tasty, Doris. And the rest is history. We used to call them Bonnie and Clyde because that's exactly what they were like. Savage had plenty to say, and Brendan was very cool and calm.
Murphy was the brains, so both of them working together, they knew what they were doing.
And he started not just working gay bars, but different venues and theatres and stuff like that.
So every stage he was there to sort of manage and push him to the next phase.
Murphy was a loner, and we both hated the same people and hated the same things, which is always a wonderful foundation for a loving relationship.
It was so opposite. Brendan was very calm, Savage was very leery.
I did ring the phone. Why didn't you?
I heard the fucking phone going, but it takes me time to answer it, you know. I'm a quick draw bastard McGraw.
It rang until the...
Open them curtains, maybe, and I'll open a vein. I'm telling you now.
Funny thing about Brendan is just Brendan's silence and not being fazed at all was like a total wind-up.
You can't face a jazz bounce. I'm getting up.
Mimima, osiraruniga kariraya, daniyate, daniyata, yureku hono ekto, kayasita, yamene yo ame, yogimi a hose, uri kese, kusi yo, kanye o, kima a, kuta ete, toku, toku, hakura, toku hakura. Yutoshi, kukurana, kukuwaga, kopirete, setomaki, kono ga nani ka, ni morate kusa, piso wa wa subete, oniso, nikona, twani de, yasasita, nami mimima, osiraruniga kariraya, daniyate, daniyata, yureku hono ekto, kayasita, yamene yo ame, yogimi a hose, uri kese, kusi yo, kanye o, kima a, kuta ete, toku, toku, hakura.
His first show at Edinburgh Festival was in a tiny little room that had a low ceiling, and he was doing the fire-eating act. And he set off the fire alarms, and the entire venue was evacuated out onto Princes Street. And we're talking maybe 7 shows of people. But of course, it got front page coverage, and he sold out for the rest of the run.
And I got nominated for the Perrier, which I didn't have a clue what it was. I didn't even know you got reviewed. And, you know, The Guardian was saying, oh, thinking man's drag queen.
These scarves are nice, look.
And that's where it started.
Is it a savage clan, do you reckon?
Well, I think most of them were, but I didn't...
Savage, yeah. The one time I couldn't get on Richard and Judy to plug a tour. And I've been on Richard and Judy 28 times now.
OK. My name is Richard. I'm Richard Madeley. I'm basically a daytime TV presenter, and that is where I came into contact with Lily.
How you doing?
Were you telling me about those shoes earlier?
I bought them in a shop in New York, which specialises in footwear for hookers. And the thing is, they're really good because they're reinforced with steel.
So you can kick?
Well, you can kick and you can also be on them for 9 hours a night on cobbles. Not that I do, you must understand.
And I have to tell you that when we first used Lily Savage on the programme, we got calls from our head office in Manchester saying, we can't have her on again. She pushes it too far, she's over the top.
It's lovely.
Is that all whiskey?
Yeah.
Well, you are tall, Espen.
I'm only having a little one today.
We said, you're wrong. You couldn't be more wrong. And Lily became a mainstay of This Morning.
That's lovely.
You can't mix that with whiskey, Lily.
I wasn't gonna mix it with whiskey, I was gonna have it separately. What do you think I am? Thank you very much.
Lily Savage knew exactly how far she could go.
Very nice, though.
Exactly how far to push the envelope.
And, OK, finish up in Spain.
The thing is, back then, you didn't really see that many spoof working-class women at that time on television at all. But you didn't really see many real working-class women. And the thing about Lily was the perfect fusion of the two.
Judy Finnegan, you've got me rotten drunk.
All right, a caricature, but still a representation of working-class northern reality, and particularly Liverpudlian Scouse reality.
I always thought it was much easier to think of Lily as a woman because of the very female way that Lily talked.
Have you got keys to his flat? I'll tell you a really good one. Go in and sew prawns in the hem of his curtain. It's true.
He couldn't have done that if he'd just, you know, come on as Paul.
Deal with him. I'm telling you now, don't let him walk all over you. Deal with him. Don't have no messing.
Lily could communicate with people in a very... It was like talking to someone on the top of the bus or at the bus stop. It was very down to earth.
It's Lily Savage!
Eventually, I ended up in kids' telly, lying on the bed of the big breakfast, dressed as a hooker, at 7:30 in the morning, and nobody flinched.
Shut up! Shut up! Of all people, why on earth have they asked someone to be on breakfast telly that don't go to bed at night until 4 in the morning?
Go back, please. It's too early. Get lost.
Lily, have you got something there to talk to?
I'm going to belt him in a minute, that cameraman.
It was live. It was ad-lib. There was no script.
This was so surreal. There was my mate on telly, in bed with Cher. No, that ain't real. Crazy.
Julian. Julian. Shit.
Oh, are we on?
We're on.
I couldn't think of anything better than a drag queen on breakfast telly. How fantastic.
You're never happy unless you're working. I've noticed this with you.
Well, it's very fulfilling, isn't it? Going out and being jolly and making people laugh.
Well, yeah, if you're
What's
in the
your
mood.
motivation, then?
The cash.
The money.
That's it. It's cash. What else?
Part of the genius of Lily and of Paul, which is very difficult to do, is to be real all the time. And it comes across as, you know, genuine. Because a lot of men think that all it takes to turn a woman on is the smell of vomit.
Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Well, there's more to it than that.
A kebab down the back of me cardi on the night bus isn't going to get my engine running, I tell you. It does happen, Julian, doesn't it?
Some people, actors who are known for the character that they inhabit, sometimes they can come to resent the character because they feel it's restricting them.
It's a bit sad, really, you know. Tired old queen dressing up, wearing makeup.
No, it's not, because I can't go out without Lippy, you know.
I never felt that about Lily and Paul. That's what happened later on in his career. He was happy as Lily Savage.
So I first met him as Lily, not Paul. It was in Edinburgh, and we were both doing publicity for our shows, and I arrived quite early in the morning, 9 o'clock, I think it was, to find Paul already there, dressed as Lily with a fag on. Hello, Ian. We were friends thereafter. Let's see if I can find it. I'd invited Paul to be my date for the opening of my film, Richard III. And he turned up full drag makeup, lovely blonde wig. And when we sat down in the dark in the cinema and he was talking away, well, was it Paul talking or was it Lily? I couldn't tell the difference.
Please welcome Lily Savage!
What was extraordinary for all of us watching was the rise of Lily onto television and beyond. That was what was wonderful.
Nice to have you popping in.
Yes,
'cause
pleasure.
you're a busy kid.
I've done Blankety Blank. I've just one more night to do on a tour in Liverpool, and then I'm finished. I've done a video. I've written this book, and I'm doing Annie.
What happened with Sabs was that just the money was coming in and he could afford Martin. And Martin is a genius costumier. The money wasn't a problem, so the sky was the limit. And, oh, my goodness, those costumes.
Tight. They're as tight as a crab's arse in the BBC, I'm telling you. Tight. Well, you think, oh, BBC, all these costume epics, you know what I mean? I'm going to get here, I'm going to be dressed to death. I got here, got tucked to wardrobe, and the wardrobe mistress said to me, she said, we're very thrifty here, you know. I mean, we don't waste licence payers' money. She said, we recycle. There's your gowns. They were all old Gloria Runniford, Nesta Ranson stuff. I can never get away from dressing up, ever.
So, and I'm of the opinion that if you go, I don't like to go on a stage in a t-shirt and jeans. That to me is not showbiz.
Oh, there's a nice one. Look at that. Paul could wear a bin bag and he would have just still been funny. The Lily Savage persona was mostly Paul. The costumes came in just to sort of fill the gaps, really. He was really into what he wore, and it was really important to him. I'm Martin Owen Taylor, and for the most of a decade, I was the main costume designer for Lily Savage. The words that stick in my mind are, it needs to be really tarty, it needs to look cheap and tacky, you know, or Larry. It needs to look really Larry. That's like a sort of like tatty barmaid look. Two-tone, look how short he is. I mean, he looked like a right tart in this. Well, Dolly Parton used to say it costs a lot of money to look this cheap, and that was the same for Savage as well. And I think Savage really took that mantra and ran with it, you know. It's just the dream job. It's like having your own Barbie that you can dress up.
I first saw him on Clive James's show, and I'd never, ever seen anyone like him, or her. I was just laughing my head off.